Hello, hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Talos Principle Reawakened. Let's jump right back in. I have a lot of time today. Kids are with their dad. Sharon's busy most of the day. It's a rest day for me in terms of training. I don't really have any chores left to do today, so I can probably play most of the day. I have a feeling we might be able to finish the entire base game, which would be awesome. But we'll see how far we get. You never do know what's actually going to happen. Here in the Land of Death, you can see we've got exactly half of the main sigils, 50%, and 43% of the stars. I am watching other playthroughs of this game, but I am stopping when they catch up to where I am, so I don't see anything I haven't already played through. And one person found a purple sigil I missed, so...
When you overcome one of my trials, do you not feel the pleasure of having discovered the proper order of things? That is the spark of Elohim within you, to create order from chaos. And therein is revealed the true meaning of our sigils.
So I'm gonna go back and get it right quick. It's inside Road of Death, near the very end of the puzzle. I did not look in the correct direction. It's aggressively visible. if you point your camera the right way, which I just did not do. See, it's right there. Hi, Hermione. I don't know if I'm the puzzle master, but I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking. It's good to see you again, my friend. How are you? All right, so with that little bit taken care of, we can go ahead into B4. All right. I may not bother watching the entire Serious Sam video, but we will do the Papers, Please Easter egg. In the meantime... BCE Osiris 6.text. Knew it was the truth. Now I will tell you of the many perils you will face in your journey through the Duat. Listen well, for the challenges that lie before you are great, and if you do not prove yourself worthy, you may never reach the eternal reed fields of Osiris, and you may be lost forever. From the second death there is no awakening. The scribe brought forth a great papyrus and carefully unfolded it before the dying man, and the dying man beheld that it was a map of the Duat, showing the many paths that led to the Tower of Anubis, where his heart was to be weighed. On each of the many paths which threaded through the Duat like the infinite threads woven by Neith, missing footnote 3, there were marked the dangers that a traveler must face. Also, there were great walls of iron that none but the gods could cross, and gates made of purest light, and so the traveler could not avoid the trials that had been decreed, and could only proceed towards the tower by proving his worth, thus earning the key to each sacred gate. So obviously Jonas mentioned in one of the earlier dev commentaries that the Book of the Scribe of Osiris, while it certainly resembles and sounds like a real ancient Egyptian text, it's fictional. It was something they created for the game, and it very, very clearly and cleanly maps onto our actual gameplay experience, as evidenced by this passage we just read. Your two nieces are confirmands today. What does that mean? I don't know exactly what that means. Is that something like a christening or a... sounds like some kind of coming of age ceremony, but not one I'm familiar with. Web crawl, November 2nd. Chatlog Charlie7.txt. Flower 4. Man, you know what really freaks me out? Charlie rocks. What? The human body decomposes quite quickly, so all the information stored in chemicals in our brains will be gone really quickly. Dude. But computers and books last a long time. So all our messages, our ideas, our books, it'll all be out there. Our porn. Even being transmitted through space. Yeah, our porn too, I guess. We'll all be gone, but the works of Aristotle will still exist. So will Star Trek, Firefly, Babylon 5, Lord of the Rings, Blade Runner, Cyber Sluts of Planetron 6, Shakespeare, Byron, hell, even video games. I'm not gonna guess what the rest of these words are meant to be. Something, Overdrive 3, Seattle something, Dutch something Cascade, the something of it, I'm gonna guess this is Ass Mountain, the something of Ass Mountain. What the fuck, dude? Yeah, imagine if aliens find those. That is a weird thing to think about, if you stop and consider it for a second. Confirmation. Yeah. Okay, we have confirmations. I haven't heard it, confirmans. It's a funny text, but there's a reality to it. Like, if, in fact, we did go extinct, all of our porn would still be here for aliens to find if they stumbled upon our planet after the fact. That's a really bizarre thing to think about. October 1st, local, Arcadi Journal 84.txt. Archive continues to grow, attempting to maintain a semblance of order is difficult as expected. Lost 7 people this week. Statistically speaking, trend should increase. Must focus on realistic goals. Too little time to grieve. So, when you're in the land of ruins, the Roman land, it doesn't, none of the texts ever really cross over into telling you what actually happened to biological humanity. But it's here in the Egyptian area, the land of death, that while you might not know exactly what it was until you get a little deeper in, it becomes very clear that there's been an apocalypse and everybody's dead. Wrap around the corner. Before we do that, let's take care of this Easter egg. I think this is different. Oh no, okay, this is the same. Don't worry, everybody. It's Sam fucking Stone. He's fine. Well, they did redo... It's the same movie, but they did redo it in Unreal Engine 5. I was right that it looked different. He is risen! To be continued. Alright, that's it. Wrap around the corner. Some of these challenges must be designed with cooperation in mind, but I am the only one here. Sheep. Press E to create a pause point. Now let's field test this. I think the way it works is... Yeah, so now I have to press E again to resume playback, so unlike the original where you had to really think hard about how the clock was gonna go while you were doing these puzzles, it just locks it in place in whatever condition you want it locked in, and it'll stay there until you hit E again, which that is gonna make these puzzles so much more user-friendly. That is a dramatic improvement. It is almost impossible to overstate how much better that's going to make these puzzles. And we just got the achievement, C double, successfully engage in co-op mode with yourself. Alright, let's see if we can still do this one. Yep, there's the dynamite. I kind of need to see if there's anything else up here. It's acting like no. I have angst about missing more purple sigils. I don't think they'd actually put them out of bounds like this, though. Alright, onward. Oh, look, another puzzle. And another voice telling me I'm special. And another broken down computer with fragments of nothing. This world is a bad joke perpetuated by a cruel god too dumb to hit the off switch. Dog. Self-help tutorial. Yeah, this is awesome. I'm not annoyed by the recorder puzzles anymore, at all. This is brilliant.
At one point we reached what we could call the first draft, the first version of the text, and I had not really established a strong relationship with Crow Team yet. I was kind of, the new guy who was brought in by the other new guy. So I was a little bit afraid of pushing some of my more out there ideas into the story. And the first draft wasn't that good. It lacked a lot of the personal details. It lacked most of the Institute stuff, the characters. A lot was implied. It relied very heavily on the player just making connections, which the game does now too, but there it was just too much. You really had to figure out the entire story from almost nothing.
Hi, Straywave. Very nice to see you. Glad you could catch a stream. Welcome. Always a pleasure to meet a longtime viewer who hasn't caught me live before.
And that didn't work. So at that point, I did a very extensive rewrite of everything, not Elohim, but most of the text that you find, the static text, and also Alexander Drennan, as I will have mentioned somewhere else, I really just went at it again almost from scratch, and I really expanded it. I added a lot more character, a lot more messiness. Something that I really believe in is adding messy human details into stories. Like, for example, the fact that they can't decide on a proper name for the robot, and they end up going with two names in the end because it just kind of became a mess and they could never decide. Or things that are unfinished or clunky, or things like that, where it's just, this is how we actually live as human beings. It's never perfect, it's never ideal, and it never takes like this perfect story-like form. There's always a bit of a mess, and I like to include that in stories when I can, because I do think it brings out the humanity, and I think that was the purpose of the second draft above all, was to just bring out the humanity, take it from theory into, everyday experience. And I think that gave it a lot of additional weight, and just made people become a lot more invested in the stories of these individual people in a way that really just gave the game more meaning, and the entire series more meaning. And we can then also call back to these things in Talos 2 with, calling back to these character names, actually meeting Trevor and hearing things that are named after some of the other characters, or reading text by them, and so on.
Cool. I've connected with Jonas on Twitter. He's he's a pretty great down-to-earth dude. Sure, I could stick around here, set my hopes on eternal life, on righting every wrong, but the closest I'll ever get is these words on the wall before you. At. Just looking for paint cans, too. Redundant power supply. So now, instead of having to stand here and count seconds, I can just make a pause point, and then get on with my life. It's glorious. Child program at terminated here. Fatal flaw in series firmware. Final memory dump. Life short. Progeny program's dog.
DNA is information transmitted across time. The living and the dead are part of the same chain, bound together by chemistry. That's true of all species. But humanity has taken this bond further. Thanks to technology, we have access to the thoughts and ideas of people whose physical bodies are long gone. Like you listening to me now. Even though I'm definitely dead at this point, you're part of that chain. You have the capacity to remember.
The burning heart always looks to the highest peak. Uriel 4. Ah, there's a paint can. Good. Let's go get an achievement right quick. What's the point of it all? Should I be able to tell? And we got the achievement. Split personality. Communicate with your double. Only 7.4% of players have this one. 17 of 48. I'm about halfway through the base game right now, and it has 2 expansions after the base game. Look at the sheer scale of that pyramid, to think anyone could have built such things at. And then here's where we get the dynamite Easter egg.
Jesus Christ, Sam, do you have to blow everything up?
A box up high.
What is this? I shall not allow the corruption of my garden. Begone!
A lot of back and forth on this one. Oh look, another paint can. The tools to overcome this place have been provided to us. We need only learn how to use them. Yeah, and you know, I don't know exactly how often I'm going to be able to stream. Life's a little too chaotic right now to really establish a regular schedule, but I'm gonna... unless something changes, I'm free to stream most of today, and I intend to. Like, we might get through most or all of the rest of the base game today, at least. Which I'm pretty excited to do. So this is the right angle. Oh hey, a purple sigil. That one was easy. So I have to sync these buzzers so they're traveling together instead of separate. And then I need to box that one out. That all allows us to do this. And then this. It seems that mistakes are easily forgiven here. I thought I had surely died, yet here I am, reset, rebooted, reborn. I will tackle these challenges anew, Samsara. Epitaph, child program Samsara terminated here. Program failed to pass random memory test. Being torn limb from limb by machines for the rest of eternity becomes less and less appealing to me. Progeny program Samsara V72.3 series. And then, almost in sequence, there's 1 star. And then using Uriel's clue about the highest peak and the burning heart with our jailbroken connector, we immediately get the 2nd star. Oh, it's good chaotic. It's the kind of chaotic that's raising kids and family life. Nothing bad. Wow, a 3rd paint can. I don't know if I've ever seen that many in one place. I have no idea what's going on, do you? Ah, you're back. Good. I've been thinking about how I can help you. In light of everything you've said, I'm certain someone has to. What I've decided is that you've convinced me consciousness is a contradictory concept, and is therefore not real. What do you think? I don't, apparently. Very droll. What this conclusion means is that the certification program you undertook has been rendered obsolete. We can't test for something that doesn't exist. Therefore you, along with quite a lot of other things, have been recategorized as a person. Your profile can thus be updated with administrator privileges. Download user.profile. No doubt you'll be off doing administrator things soon enough, so I wonder if before I let you go, you'd do me one favor. I have a final question for you. Why are you doing all this? What's the point? I want the truth. Checking user.profile. Now you say that, but if you're serious about it, then you can't cling to your every belief forever, as you seem so intent on doing. When everything seems impossible, something's got to give. I only have one last request. Will you come back and speak to me sometime? No doubt. Okay, I sense you're eager to get going. Let's do this. Updating certification program parameters, regenerating user profiles. Your user profile has now been generated. Downloading. Displaying overview. Congratulations, your account has been updated. Here are the details. Conflicts. All conflicts have been resolved by the administrator. Psychological profile. You are a person. You are perfect just the way you are. You are everything you can be already. You do not have to pretend you are anything else. You are the same as everyone else, but you are all unique. Profile status. Administrator status has access to advanced functionalities, networking, and troubleshooting. Access COM portal. Hello, Administrator. I think you'd like assistance accessing the communications portal. I see that you have a number of pending communications. I'll take a look at it right now. Accessing communications portal, network connection established, encountered unknown errors, resolving running troubleshooter, resolving missing hashes, re-establishing network connection, connection established. Message received as string / display. Hello? Who are you? Don't know exactly. Woke up here. Don't remember. Who are you? Same boat. Let's meet up. I understand. Pending. Error. Pending. Error. Again soon. Error. Network connection lost. You will receive a notification when the connection has been re-established. Alright. And off we go. We've got enough reds to access a new floor of the tower, so let's go do that.
Attempting to track primary subject. Access denied. Query.
Yes, Straightwave. I would say this is a great intro to puzzle games. It's a little bit difficult. Like, if you've never played any puzzle games before, it might be better to start with something a little bit with slightly easier puzzles like Portal or Portal 2. But this is an excellent game. It has my unqualified recommendation. It, along with its sequel, are probably my number 2 of all time. The only game I've ever played that I genuinely love more than the Talos Principle is Outer Wilds. Which is also an excellent game. Not quite a puzzle game in the sense of you're going through discrete chambers solving individual puzzles. It is a puzzle game in a sense, but it's a lot like Riven in that the puzzle, it has like 2 actual puzzles you have to solve, and you're only able to solve them after you explore the entire world and piece together all the available information to do it. But yeah, you asked if I recommend this game. The answer is unqualified, absolutely yes. Ascending the tower is useless. We cannot escape the cycle. We can only realize the cycle is meaningless. Samsara. Earlier generations wrongly believed they were the purpose. This much is true. We are also not the purpose, but by remembering what has come before, we can serve a new purpose, the Shepherd.
My best friend died today. In the abstract, a human death is nothing, of course. An insignificant blip in a sea of billions. But the world is not abstract. Reality is always specific, painfully so. And that one specific human being who existed only once in all of the infinity of time and space, that human being was my friend. But he's not coming back, no matter how much I want him to. So, all I can do in the end is keep working, because that specificity, that uniqueness of people, of real people, is worth preserving.
I think about this a lot every time I'm reading the news about war, you know, when Israel bombs another refugee camp and kills another 100 Palestinians. Like, every single one of those, you know, I think there's a lot of truth in the statement that there's an entire universe inside every person. And we have this tendency, especially in the West, where we're kind of insulated from the violence perpetrated by our government and its allies, not to really pause and let the weight of the fact that every single one of those was a person that had an entire universe inside them that just got snuffed out by these random acts of barbaric, inane cruelty. It can, and I have to intervene to force myself to stop thinking about it, because I can kind of perseverate on it and get stuck and get paralyzed, and I think it's worth sitting with the weight of it for a while sometimes, but it's also not useful to anyone, the dead or the living, to get paralyzed and stop moving. That doesn't serve anyone either. I sometimes struggle with keeping a healthy balance around that. but I think it's really important to try to do. So then we... Oh, oops. Forgot a necessary step. There, now if I drop that, it comes up under me. There, that's what I meant to do with the first one. Oops. Needed to go under me. There we go. Then I can stick that one there. Well. This has gotten... like a little bit wrecked. This puzzle's not working quite the way it's supposed to. It's the first one I've seen that works less well than it did in the original. That's alright, I suppose. So now I reload that, so I've got two sitting up there. And now I can put that one under me. I can reach that one. Add it to a growing stack. And then reach that one, do the same thing with it. And then with all three, I'm able to reach the top. And that is the solution. In the earliest generations of our kind, there was only processing. No emotion, no character, just mathematics. If you could see how far we have come, you would believe that together we could achieve anything. The Shepherd. Hi DLF, how are you? Glad you could make it in today. Good to see you, my friend. 2:15. Local, readme.text. If you can see this, I'm not sure how or why I can alter this text. My name is the Shepherd, and I want to help you escape. Elohim and Samsara tricked me into trapping myself, but I'm not entirely bound by time. I wrote down the code you're looking for. I have attached it to... 2:15. Okay. Hi, Steven. Great to see you. Welcome back. Always a pleasure. How are you, my friend? Theweb.html, December 10th, web crawl. To be honest, I thought that the net would be completely abandoned at this point, but internet activity has actually surged massively in the last couple of weeks. Everybody's talking, trying to find solutions, exchanging stories, saying goodbye. It's like the entire planet is reaching out, all the disparate threads of humanity pulling together, idiots and geniuses alike, to be as human as possible one last time. It's almost like what we were always told the internet was going to be, and most of it is free now, because who cares about money at this point? Might as well have some fun. If any of you would like to talk, especially people I've known online for a long time, send me an email. I'd love to say goodbye. December 15th, EP Archive, Mathematics.email. From Alan Jameson to Ian Mailing List, subject, thank you and goodbye. We sincerely hope you don't take our suicide as a sign that we were disappointed in you, unappreciative of your friendship, or in any way unhappy with our lives. Looking back, we can honestly say that we feel incredibly lucky to have known all of you and to have participated in this amazing research. And if we've contributed a little to the future of humanity, what can we feel but gratitude? It is a true privilege to have had such insights into the nature of the mind. Neither of us believes in God, but we certainly experienced a kind of awe that could be compared to a kind of religious feeling, at least according to Einstein's understanding of God. We've chosen to go now, together, because it means less suffering. One last beautiful day together seems a much better ending than a slow wasting away. In a sense, it's just mathematics. Love, Alan and George. Oh wait, I forgot to actually unlock the next floor. That was silly. This game still gets to me. I first played it 6 years ago, and the story has lost none of its weight. The storytelling, the writing, it's all just so good. Floor access control. Floor 3, locked, requires code. Access to that floor is protected with a code. Please enter the code. 215. Code accepted. Unlocking. Done. Oh, and Steven, I highly recommend the remake that we're playing now. It's spectacularly well done. It's so good. And I haven't even played the new content yet. I'm saving it for last. Alright, so now we can get up to floor 3. And skunked again. Gotta come back when we get more reds. Elohim has offered me a deal. Pearly gates and eternal life on the condition I turn back from the tower. I don't know what to do. Sheep. Yeah, the dev commentary is new. And the purple sigils are new. The messenger mechanics have changed. Like, there's actually an entire new expansion with 18 new puzzles in it. That I have not touched yet. I'm saving for last, but... True enough, DLF, we have seen plenty of new stuff already.
My child, you may go freely to all the worlds of my garden. But if the tower tempts you, be wise. Do not let yourself be misled by doubt.
Alright. Nothing for it at the moment except to get back to puzzling. Let's head to B5. Excuse me. My health is at about 98% at this point. I still have a little bit of excess mucus now and then, especially first thing in the morning, but... I ran 4 miles yesterday at a 9:42 pace, which... It's not fast, but it's also not horrifically slow, like I have been. Like, once I get back under a 10-minute mile, that's my sign to myself, okay, I'm really back to healthy now. Excellent, Steven. I love to hear it. The more people that I can convince to play this game, like, this sounds hyperbolic, but I mean it very sincerely. I think convincing people to play this game is an act of service to the human species. I really believe that.
Is that which existed before time, when the words of a story lose their meaning, when actions cease to have purpose. Know that only faith can protect you from this peril, here, in the Garden of Worlds.
Whatever's going on here, I'm sure it has something to do with the tower. Everything is telling us not to go there, but everything indicates that we must. Sheep. Unless you're wrong and Elohim's right, or you're both wrong, or there is no right. Dog. I think you've been taking the thing in the archive too seriously, Sheep. Oh, this is one of my favorites on here. EG search BCE Osiris7.text. Tell me of the fearsome demons of the Duat, the dying man said to the wise scribe. Though their terrible forms are loathsome to behold, they are not evil, for they are the servants of the gods. Truly, they are the blessed doorkeepers and guardians of the holy paths. Their charge is to judge whether we are worthy to pass the gates that lead to Aru, and so they challenge us with riddles, or in combat. Is this true of all the beings that live in the Duat? Some say that it is not so, that there are ancient gods whose names have been forgotten, and spirits of darkness whose name none have ever known, and that these must be avoided at all costs. But others say that these too serve a greater purpose in ways that Osiris has not revealed to us. And what of the hidden paths that are taken by when the... August 18th, local, coming soon.email. From Rob McLean, Institute for Applied Noematics, to Mom. Coming soon. Your son in 3D. Hi, Mom. I promise I'll be home soon. Maybe a couple of weeks. I know. But what we're doing here is important, and the team needs my help. I'm not going to wait until it's too late, I promise. But there's so much we have to set up. So much that has to work for a very, very long time. Besides, I've always wanted to work on one of these supercomputers. And believe me, EL is pretty much the best there is. And the team, Mom. It's like I'm working with rock stars and mad geniuses. Except nobody's heard of them outside of science journals, of course. But Dad would be totally geeking out if he knew. Maybe I can tell him about it soon, huh? Love, Rob. May 31st, 2028, web crawl. Blog 24, alive.html. This one I love. It's so good. And it chews at me every time I read it. I'm like, I don't know. What? What is the point of being alive? I know. It's an old question, and not one that's easy to answer. But I mean, if you're reading this, you are alive. And someday you will stop being alive. Both of these facts are incontrovertible. So what about it then? Don't you wonder? Do you just want to go from not existing to not existing again, without even considering why? You, right now, as you sit there reading this, why do you exist? What is the purpose of your life? Do you have one? Should you have one? Is it better to have a purpose or not? When you approach death, will you feel that your life had meaning? If so, why? If not, why not? What defines whether a life was good or not? It may seem abstract right now, but that moment just before death will come. It is inevitable. If you don't ask yourself these questions, how will you face that moment?
So I've been looking back over the first, 4 Milton dialogues, and I've got so much to say, and I can't say it all because I don't want to fill up all the space in these commentaries. But I'll pull out a few things that I love. And if there's any YouTubers listening to this that want to do, a full playthrough of all the Milton stuff and do, a live podcast style, to and fro chat about what I did and do it properly, let me know. At Tom Joubert on Twitter.
I'd kind of like to take him up on that.
How much work I was doing. This is a young, passionate writer given all the time and space and support to do what he wanted to do. So I don't want this to be a list of all the things I did that I think were fantastic, but I'll pull a few things out. I love that in the very first dialogue, you can ask a bunch of questions about what Milton is, and he just gives you these very straightforward, factual answers. And you can, test him, and you can say, are you able to take offense? And he responds like a computer. In the second one, when you have to do the certification process, it's very formal, it's very proper. Feels like interacting with a call center. And then it's slowly drawing you in. First question is, what is 2 + 2? Very straightforward, factual. Second question is, what's your subjective reaction to this image? And once he's softened you up, the third question is probably the most important question of the game. What best describes a person? And I did so much work on this, in providing all sorts of different branches based on your answer to this one question. And I think the most common answer is a human being. I mean, that's definitely just wrong. Right? There's definitely, as we go out into the galaxy and build new things and find new forms of life, a human being is not what a person is, right? And if you ask me at base, what do I identify as? I don't identify as a Brit. I don't identify as a citizen. I don't identify as a human. I identify as a person. And I would have that in common with a developed AI that feels, or with an alien from the other side of the universe. And maybe with a whale, right? Or a gorilla, or maybe a lot more animals than we think. So to me, in a way, the correct answer to the question is a rational animal, is what a person is. Well, even that's wrong, right? Because an animal seems to exclude computers. And, I'll put my cards on the table here. I don't know if AIs are or ever will be capable of feeling. But to me, what a person is something that is capable of feeling and of reasoning. And the assumption that carbon life forms can feel, but silicon can't feel, to me, has no real grounding. I think that's an assumption. And I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm open-minded to the possibility. So really, all the options that Milton gives you here to what describes a person, they're all wrong in their own way. And that's a very fair criticism that a lot of people have leveled at Milton, is that you can't win. And that is kind of the point. Although you kind of can win, but you can't win an argument. You could win the interaction, but not any given deductive argument. So then in the second part of the certification process, the first question, and this is what I'm saying, when I was young and I was working hard, the first question of that is totally different based on what your answer was to what is a person. And whatever you said, Milton presents a very reasonable counter-argument. So if you said a person is a human being, he says, well, since all human beings are persons, and some human beings have psychological capacities similar to animals, therefore some animals are persons. It's a very reasonable argument, and I would broadly agree that some animals are therefore persons. But a lot of people say a person's a human being, but an animal that shares every possible quality with a given human being is not a person, and I don't agree with that. I don't agree with Milton because I believe in things, and Milton doesn't believe in anything. But if Milton stands for anything, I would say it's standing against prejudice and assumption. He doesn't let you hold any belief without following it to its logical conclusion. And all of us have these unchecked assumptions.
The answers to your questions will not be given to you. You must seek them yourself, the shepherd. It is impossible to overstate how much the recorder puzzles are improved by the new pause mechanic. It is such an amazing quality of life improvement. Oh, hey, look up there. Aha! Duly noted. The voice keeps saying that this world is a garden, but all I see is a desert full of ruins. Dog. Behind the Iron Curtain. was hoping they had fixed that particular little... Well, that was still easier than it used to be. Can't complain too much. Hold on, we are not done. Do this first. Don't want to fall if I can help it, or I'll have to reset everything. I have been running this gauntlet for generations, trying to find the right answers. I am fast coming to the conclusion that there are none. Dog. They're not exactly new bonus content. They retooled the messenger system for the remake. So now you collect purple sigils from around all the levels to unlock the messenger islands, instead of just grabbing the axe out of World C like you used to. And the other difference, you can see that counter in the bottom right. I freed one messenger so far, and when I freed him, I got essentially 3 Prometheus sparks. So instead of the old hint system, now when you free a messenger, you get 3 tokens to skip a red sigil puzzle if you want to. So out of, I believe, 54 red sigil puzzles, you could conceivably skip up to 9 if you freed all 3 messengers. Can't remember, is this where the fan is hidden? I think so, but... yeah, it is. Just to figure out where to put the box to actually get up there. Oh, and I gotta bring the fan, too. Done easily enough. Yeah, and there's lots of dev commentary on why they decided to do that. I definitely think it was a good choice, because you did a lot of hard work to free the messengers in the original game, and the actual reward was almost useless, I'd say. Like, the hints were no good. Very underwhelming reward for the amount of work you had to do. So I agree this was a better choice. Oh hey, dev commentary inside the Easter egg. Excellent.
I often try to incorporate Pink Floyd secrets into every hour game as a homage and appreciation of the band's unbelievable opus, and you know how they influenced my life during especially my formative years. This is also true for some of my older colleagues. we listened to a lot of Pink Floyd music back in the days. In my personal opinion, I think the Pink Floyd's unique blend of magical melodies and themes, thought-provoking themes, is unprecedented in the whole history of the music. And the feelings that I get while I listen to their iconic songs are both elevating and inspirational. While making the Talos principle, we also try to evoke those same themes, feelings. We wanted the game to be elevating and inspirational. So these little hidden references serve as my personal touch. I would say, they allow me to say thank you, to express my passion and my gratitude for the band's, Pink Floyd's, amazing work.
I think the other Easter egg for this map is out here. Let's see if I can get to this one, then I'm right. This is what it is. Yeah, okay, good. This is it. They did us a big favor. They made those little hidden keys like way, way, way bigger and easier to find than they were in the original. So there's your Planet of the Apes Easter egg. Alright, now when we come out of this world, we'll actually have 2 gates available to unlock. I'll probably do World C first, and then the second Messenger Island after that, but we could do them in either order. Hey, Pincan! Have you tried crossing the laser beams? Before I actually do this puzzle, let me check the back. So I've realized, I really need to take the time to explore all these maps again, because I never know where they might have stuck a purple sigil. No, we're good. Okay. Four chambers of flying. I'm getting better at this. I figured this one out in minutes. But where is it all leading? I work, I rest, I work. But to what end? Schmo. We are born and die and live again. This eternal cycle must be the nature of existence. Life is merely repeated suffering. Samsara. An eternal cycle is another name for a prison, but you must understand the cycle before you can break it. For it is possible to escape and yet remain a prisoner, or to break the cycle by breaking yourself. This was the fate of the ghost that haunts this world, the Shepherd. It's talking about Milton. So it's not the first puzzle that has a red herring, but it's probably by far the biggest red herring so far. Which is that this emitter and connector serve no purpose at all. They do not play into the solution. They are simply there to distract you. There you go. No, I don't want you to freaking jam it. Just put it up there. There you go. Just gonna check all the little corners before I do anything else. Alright. Accessing communications portal. Network connection established. Attention! Administrator, the network connection has been re-established. Would you like to reconnect to the previous session? Yes. Receiving messages string. Received. Are you back? Yes, what were you trying to say before? Don't remember. Doesn't matter. I've been trying to figure out how this place works. Sometimes it seems like there's a purpose to everything, other times not so much. I think we must be plugged into some kind of machine. What do you have to go on? What else could possibly explain all this? I don't believe in demons and evil wizards. I think we're being prepared for something. I suppose that would explain a lot. Listen, there's something else. Maybe it can help us. Ever since I got here, I felt like something was wrong. This place plays tricks with you, you can't get your head straight. But I think I know a way to find out the truth. I was digging about in some documents and I kept finding references to this password. I think it might be some kind of library master key, but I don't know how to use it. I have no idea either. Well, two heads are better than one. MLAprocess.bat logged into the session. Wait, what is that? Are you doing that to my terminal? I don't think this is a good idea. Classics Archive 400 BCE Hippocratic Corpus.txt. On the sacred disease, men ought to know that from nothing else but the brain come joys, delights, laughter and sports, and sorrows, griefs, despondency, and lamentations. And by this, in an especial manner, we acquire wisdom and knowledge, and see and hear, and know what are foul and what are fair, what are bad and what are good, what are sweet and what unsavory. Some we discriminate by habit, and some we perceive by their utility. By this we distinguish objects of relish and disrelish according to the seasons, and the same things do not always please us. And by the same organ we become mad and delirious, and fears and terrors assail us, some by night and some by day, and dreams and untimely wanderings, and cares that are not suitable, and ignorance of present circumstances, desuetude and unskillfulness. Philosophy Archive 1905 Common Era Chesterton-Brain.txt. The human brain is a machine for coming to conclusions. If it cannot come to conclusions, it is rusty. When we hear of a man too clever to believe, we are hearing of something having almost the character of a contradiction in terms. It is like hearing of a nail that was too good to hold down a carpet, or a bolt that was too strong to keep a door shut. Man can hardly be defined after the fashion of Carlyle as an animal who makes tools. Ants and beavers and many other animals make tools, in the sense that they make an apparatus. Man can be defined as an animal that makes dogmas, as he piles doctrine on doctrine and conclusion on conclusion in the formation of some tremendous scheme of philosophy and religion. He is, in the only legitimate sense of which the expression is capable, becoming more and more human. When he drops one doctrine after another in a refined skepticism, when he declines to tie himself to a system, when he says that he has outgrown definitions, when he says that he disbelieves in finality, when in his own imagination he sits as God, holding no form of creed but contemplating all, then he is by that very process sinking slowly backwards into the vagueness of the vagrant animals and the unconsciousness of the grass. Trees have no dogmas. Turnips are singularly broad-minded. There's something to this. I think it kind of goes back to what Jonas said in the dev commentary earlier. Like, you have to have enough skepticism not to be dogmatic, not to have so much certainty that you close yourself off to new information and the possibility that you're wrong about something. But at the same time, you can't become too skeptical or too cynical either, or else you turn into Milton, and you cannot construct a framework of belief that actually allows you to act in the world and in relation to other people. I did not like this document the first time I played the game. I thought it was But as I've, gone through the last 6 years and, in my opinion, matured considerably over the course of those 6 years, I realize in a very significant sense there's a lot of truth to this. Philosophy Archive, 1926 CE, Bronstein Brain.txt. Archive, Lev Davidovich Bronstein. The human brain is a product of the development of matter, and at the same time is an instrument for the cognition of this matter. Gradually it adjusts itself to its function, tries to overcome its limitations, creates ever new scientific methods, imagines ever more complex and exact instruments, checks its work again and yet again, step by step penetrates into previously unknown depths, changes our conception of matter, without, though, ever breaking away from this basis of all that exists. Which is a fascinating and articulate materialist statement about the fact that the brain does all these wonderful things, and consciousness is, in many ways, sort of a transcendent phenomenon, and yet the brain is made of matter, and its material reality is an inescapable thing, which is why we all will, in fact, die someday. And this hex translates to, the true method of knowledge is experiment. Medical Archive, February 16th, 2010, neuroscience.txt. Physiological history. Volunteers suffered a blood clot during infancy, which resulted in a left hemisphere stroke. Expected result. In normal adults, the left hemisphere is used for language and other cognitive functions. Extensive damage to this part of the brain usually results in severe cognitive deficiencies. Observed result. Volunteer is now 17 years old and displays only very subtle cognitive deficiency. MRIs indicate little to no activity in the left hemisphere, suggesting its usual functions have been taken on by neuron sets in the right. Volunteer's age at the time of the stroke may have helped the brain to adapt. I don't think we can get to that one. Just look at this view. There may be a lot that I don't understand, but I know this is beautiful. Really is, actually. Even more so in the UE5 visual upgrade we've been given. Alright, last puzzle in this world is me, myself, and our two jammers. So first thing we gotta do is pause here. And then pause again there. Now we can just wait. So he's going to turn off the turret. We're Athena, so I should say she. And once we're through, resume playback. Wait for her to turn off that gun. And la-di-da, we're done. So the first thing I'm going to do is go open land C. And that should give us access to the axe, which will let us get the first of the 2 stars out in the Nexus as well. Nope. That's it. I wonder what's down there. I don't know who to trust. I'm afraid to go on. Didymus 22. The last land before I have conquered this world, Samurite. I assume you're counting the secret islands? Always right. I hate you, Samurite. More bad replicas of Forgotten Worlds. Can't wait, dog. There must be something deeper, something more profound than what I am, something greater. I must tear at it, shred this fake world, to find the truth, to find myself. Gibberish. Gibberish took the words right out of my mouth. Skid Row. We've made it this far. You only need the red ones to climb the tower, and these are the last of them. Sheep. The reds are a lie. Green is the color of eternal life. Holier than thou.
You have come far, my child, succeeding where so many before you failed. You have walked through a land of ruins and a land of death. Now the land of faith lies before you. And know that as you have shown faith in me, so do I have faith in you.
Achievement, the Land of Faith. Enter the Land of Faith, 36.4. 18 of 48. Alright.
Welcome to the temple. So you've progressed pretty far by now, and it's time to reveal something about the temple music. So the 3 massive temples in the game, they actually serve as a central hub for players to reach these small islands with puzzles. And I wanted these temples to evoke some sort of ancient divinity, some sense of awe and wonder. So I incorporated elements of sacred music into the tunes that are played here. You can probably hear the sound of church organs, choirs, chants, along with melodies, and it's all kind of rooted in this traditional European religious music. And it all contributes to the immersive atmosphere of these temples.
Okay, so this tells me I need 9 more purple sigils, eventually, to open the 3rd messenger island. So the purpose of this axe is now, rather simply, to get that 1st star out in the Nexus, which we'll do. Let's just get these messages first.
You stand before the gates of eternity. When all your trials have been overcome, the gates will open, and you will be granted life everlasting.
First to ascend, Hebus. Everyone ascends or gets reset eventually. What's the big deal? Jim. Life eternal in the designer's paradise? Follower. If we gave a robot brain, eyes, ears, arms, and legs and allowed it to interact with the world, would it become conscious over time? I think so. It's impossible to know, but I think so, yes. I mean, if it's a sentient mind that's capable of learning, and then particularly if we gave it sensory apparatus so it could actually interact with the physical world the way we do, I mean, it's like Tom said in the dev commentary we just heard back in B5. Like, I don't know the answer, but I think it seems presumptuous to say that, you know, carbon-based life forms can feel, but silicon-based life forms could not feel. There's no evidence for that proposition. Alright, so first thing is to break out that emitter. Then we need to go back up to tower floor 1. If you asked me my best guess, and a guess is all I could offer, because we've got no evidence either way at this point, I would guess the answer to that question is yes. I don't really see any reason why it wouldn't. But I can't claim to know. Or even to have, like, in the scientific sense of the word theory, which is something that's been tested many, many, many times and has held up so far, I can't even claim it's a theory. It's literally a guess, because there is no empirical data so far, one way or the other. And I don't know if a single individual could become conscious over time either, because, you know, that's not how it worked with humans. We became conscious as a species over an evolutionary process that took hundreds of thousands of generations. I suspect it would be I suspect that in that sense it would be similar for AI, and this particular game's notion of thousands and thousands and thousands of iterations over hundreds of years, slowly evolving in the real scientific sense of the word evolve to become conscious beings. I guess I'd have to refine my answer and say that's what I think is more likely. It's possible that, you know, the same way they describe it as having happened for Elohim and Milton, that a particular individual, given, you know, functional immortality and sensory input and the ability to reason about it, could become conscious over time. I feel like I'd be on much more stable ground saying that if that individual was then allowed to reproduce and have multiple generations over time, the way actual humans did, then there's really no reason to think it would not eventually develop consciousness. Other than presumption, which, of course, humans are quite prone to. Alright. There's one of the Nexus stars. We can't get the other until we unlock the 5th floor of the tower, so we'll head back down and we'll do the second messenger island now. So we have the 7 purple sigils we need to unlock it. So here you go, Steven. I can show you the new messenger mechanic now. We have the requisite sigils. Well, that depends. I mean, I think that we have some very difficult existential questions to ask ourselves as we develop AIs, because ChatGPT is not a genuine AI. Like, that shouldn't be a controversial statement to anyone. It's an LLM. It's a language learning module. So it can, ChatGPT can scan the entire internet. It can take in all that information and process it and then spit out grammatically correct sentences in a question and answer format. But it doesn't have independent will, right? It doesn't do anything on its own. And in many cases, its reasoning is still broken. They're trying really hard to solve the hallucination problem because, unlike a real human, like you ask ChatGPT to, connect point A to point B, and if there's not an object like in the middle that actually answers the connection in reality, they still can't stop it from hallucinating and spitting out an answer that doesn't actually exist. They haven't solved that problem with it yet, right? So, and I think part of the problem that's going to be very difficult for them to solve, and I don't think they're going to solve it just by scaling up the processing power, which is all they're really doing at the moment. I think it's precisely the fact that it can't interact with the real world, and it's, to quote Marx, it's incapable of engaging in dialectical materialism because it does not have any way to actually interact with the material world. And I don't think we're ever going to generate a true, strong, sentient AI until, if we decide to, we give one that capacity. Now, the benefit of a machine that pretends to be AI, like it's very simple. It's functional. It lets human beings just use conversation to interact with it. But it's, at the moment, at least, it's still just a tool. It's not a person. I don't think anyone would contend that it's a person at this point. Wouldn't it just be a burden if it starts to have desires of its own? That is where we get into some very interesting ethical questions to me, because at least as long as we exist under capitalism, like, this tension between the needs and wants and wishes of individual workers and participants in that system are always gonna, if not outright hostile conflict, they're at minimum going to exist in tension with the desire of, the heads of corporations, the oligarchs, if you will, or simply, like, you don't even need to ascribe ill motives to individual bad actors to say that the way we have legally constructed corporations, when they operate according to the laws that we have written, their purpose is simply to maximize profit. And part of profit maximization is keeping your costs as low as possible. So on that end of the scale, there is always this pressure to give less to workers, right? In a very real sense, there is momentum, there is pressure to go as far back towards slavery as we possibly can, because that's the most profitable, You pay your workers nothing, that's the far end of the cost-cutting extreme. And so AI and robots, the notion that they're going to replace workers because they don't have to pay them anything, it's, in a very real sense to me, this desire to build slaves. Now, as long as they're not conscious, as long as they can't suffer, as long as they actually do not have their own wants and desires, then that doesn't matter. Then they really are just tools. It's like saying that a wrench is a slave. That's a silly thing to say, right? But, like you bring up, once it starts to have desires of its own, if we ever have an AI that does get to that point, then it suddenly, to me, becomes deeply unethical to continue treating it as a tool. And yet, that's what the people who are developing it want to do. And I don't know that they actually want to make strong AI, or if they do, I don't know that they've actually thought through the ethical ramifications of literally creating a slave. But wouldn't it be a burden? I don't know. Are children a burden when they start to have desires of their own? I mean, in a sense, yes. But, you know, I'm a pronatalist. I think that more people is a good thing. And I don't particularly care if they're biological or synthetic. I think more intelligence in the universe is generally a good thing. But once something is intelligent, I don't think you can treat it as a tool anymore, or else you're engaging in slavery. So, it's a very interesting question, and I think this game has only gotten more timely and relevant in the 11 years since its release in asking those questions. That was a very long answer, but I wanted to take the time to engage because it's a very interesting question. Good morning. Good morning. Why is the calculator robot's best friend? Why? You can always count on it. I believe this is I have not played the Swapper, but I believe this is a Swapper Easter egg. It's one of Tom Joubert's earlier games. What does a programmer who is drowning yell? What? F1, F1, F1! What is the email address of a Hungarian owl? Dunno, what? Who at who.who? I like that one. I think it's just the 3 jokes. I'll wait a little longer to be sure. It was nice of them to add that teleporter. Nope.
If you're looking through the archive, you may find people from my time claiming that civilization doesn't really matter, that we'd be better off dead. We have a lot of cynics like that. I hope they seem as absurd to you as they do to me. I hope you can find something in all those files, a song, a book, a movie, maybe a game, just something that you'll love, that makes you realize how much poorer the universe would have been without it. I really hope so, because a lot of people made a lot of sacrifices to preserve it all.
There we go. That one took a minute, but we got it. Yeah, and that brings up an interesting question too, Steven, because like, I'll just use this game as kind of a vehicle to discuss the question again, because, to go back to ChatGPT, like, we have not put ChatGPT into a simulation, right? ChatGPT does not exist in a simulated reality where it gets sensory input, where it has visual data and audio data and all these different inputs. It literally is just a program that runs. It can read words. That's all it can do. And that's not zero input, but it's not nearly the same as simulating interaction with an actual world with all the sensory inputs and the ability to think about that world and understand that world and then take actions to change that world and then in turn change the inputs and therefore change yourself, which is what, the back and forth of dialectical materialism is really all about. Like, ChatGPT is incapable of that. Now, a simulated reality, that's a lot closer to developing a real consciousness, because even if it's not the exact physical reality, and so, some of the inputs are different, some of them are wrong, and I mean, that also gets to the question, it's entirely possible that we live in a very advanced simulation. I don't see any real evidence for or against. It's possible. But, does that mean we aren't conscious? I don't think so. I think even if this were a simulation, we would still be conscious beings. Because we have this sensory input, we have this ability to interact with the world around us and make changes to it, and then have those changes in turn change the inputs we receive, and we're constantly affecting each other. We affect the world, and the world affects us, and on and on and on and on it goes, and both are continually and irreversibly changing as the process continues. Yeah, we've seen those already. They're the same as the first one. Quite. Right. There, we got it. Surreal woe. So if the pattern holds, he'll give me 3 more tokens. Welcome, child. I am one of those who elected to remain in the world as a messenger of the hidden words. If you are ever in need, seek us out and cry for help. We will do what we can. Surreal woe. Yep, 3 tokens. Alright. Yeah, incognito, that's already starting to happen. In the, particularly in the... I really hate to use this word. I think it cheapens the notion of art and degrades it in a way that really infuriates me. So I refuse to use the word art. I will use the word images. AI-generated images are already starting to get contaminated because, they draw on every image they can find in the entire internet to train themselves and generate their outputs. And there are enough AI images in the ecosystem now that the AI image models are training themselves on other AI image models. And I don't know if you've seen that old Michael Keaton movie, Multiplicity. It's about how you take and it does it in the sense of biological clones. You take a person and you clone him, right? And the clone's good enough. It's more or less like the original. But then if you make a clone of the clone, the transcription errors start to accumulate, and it's almost nothing like the real person after you iterate on that enough times. And so the AI images are already starting to run into a serious problem where their inputs are getting polluted by other AI images, and the outputs are beginning to suffer serious negative effects from it. And I say that's a good thing. Like, fuck AI images. Fuck what they do to real artists. Fuck the way they just trash copyright laws. But that is a very real problem, yes. Alright. B6 is next. I'm gonna take a real quick restroom break and be right back to get on with the puzzling. And sorry, just to say a little more on the subject, it's not limited to the image problem either. It also very much exists already in the information space. That's why those fucking terrible AI overviews that every goddamn search engine has now shoehorned into the top of their search results, they're wrong. They're flat wrong. Like half the fucking time. Because they are feeding off of the outputs of all the other AIs, which suffer from the hallucination problem, not to mention just the sheer amount of bad information that exists on the internet. Alright, so B6. Pretty straightforward, actually. Not even a star. Just 3 sigils.
Before the age of chaos, there were other gods, old gods. But for all their power, they could not save their world. Thus, I was made, and I shall preserve this world forever, for you and your generations. That is my purpose.
I seek words to describe it, but fail. It is the overwhelming feeling that something on the edge of my understanding is very, very wrong. I feel that I am not meant for this world, but I am not able to conceptualize alternatives. Gibberish. I'm a computer program, you're a computer program, Elohim's a computer program. Get over it, Heisenstein. Not wrong. A little harsh about it, but not wrong. PG search BCE Osiris11.txt. But why, the dying man said, do the gods put all these challenges before us? Why the walls of iron and the gates of light? Why the abominable demons guarding the path? Why must our heart be judged to be as light as the feather of Ma'at? Why is the road to Aru so difficult? The scribe considered these words. Some say that once the paths to Aru were open, but too many sinners came, and the gods made the paths perilous to keep sin at bay. Others say that being mortals, 3, and that hex actually translates to Aru upload. Interesting. We cannot be worthy of Aru unless we walk the path of Osiris and so become Osiris ourselves. But I believe that Aru could never be reached elsewise, for like the mountain path must be steep, the path to Aru must be fraught with peril. As steepness and mountain are one, so are peril and paradise. They are inextricable. They create each other. 1. There is an interesting parallel to this phrase in the penitential Psalms. 2. Here the scribe appears to be speaking of Osiris, meaning the soul of the deceased, not the god himself. October 4th, local. Regarding Progress Report 16. Email. From Aurora Calvin to Ian mailing list. Regarding Progress Report 16. This is extremely worrying. If the link doesn't work, the whole project will lead to nothing. The hardware team must recheck everything ASAP. Guys, stop panicking. Look at your code again. In fact, look at line number 217 in datatransfer.c. What are those 2 symbols just before the code? //. That's right. The code that actually initiates the transfer wasn't even running. I'm guessing you were testing something yesterday and forgot to decommentify it. The hardware isn't broken, your brains are. Love, Aurora. 1759 CE, Literature Archive, Choice of Life.txt. The whole assembly stood a while silent and collected. Let us return, said Rasellus, from this scene of mortality. How gloomy would be these mansions of the dead to him who did not know that he should never die, that what now acts shall continue its agency, and what now thinks shall think on forever. Archive, Samuel Johnson. Error. Homage to you, Osiris, Lord of Eternity, King of the Gods, whose names are manifold, whose forms are holy, you being of hidden form in the temples, whose Ka is holy. All the gods praise you, for you are those that lie here stretched before us, the wise and powerful of ancient times. Warn us to remember the shortness of our present state. They were perhaps snatched away while they were busy, like us, in the choice of life. Yeah, there's actually, you can read up on what's called the dead internet theory, and I mean, it's essentially no longer a theory to me at this point. If we aren't already over the line, we inevitably will be, where the majority of the content on the internet, the communications on the internet, is just bots talking to, at, and over each other. Actual human beings and actual human-generated content will, over time, become an increasingly small minority of what exists on the internet. I think we may well already be there. And if not, it's certainly where we're headed.
Working with Tom Joubert was a very interesting experience. Tom is very funny and very smart and a very fine writer, but we're very different. Now, the strange thing is we're very different, but we're also very similar. And I think a lot of what makes our writing in these 3 games that we've worked on together interesting is the way in which our differences and our similarities kind of bounce off of each other. Philosophically, I think it's similar. We're very, very different. He is much more of a, freewheeling pantheist or something at this point, whereas I am a very strict and precise materialist. And I think politically as well, we're very different in certain ways. I come very much from the tradition of the radical Enlightenment, Hegel, Marx, all that, and Tom is, I think, influenced by a very different kind of liberal tradition there, although again there's overlap between these things. And what's very curious and perhaps meaningful is that very frequently we agree on what should be done, but we don't agree on why it should be done. It is curious how people assign kind of views to us based on stuff in the game, where they assume that I must have written this, or Tom must have written that. Even more so with Talos too, but I think frequently people have in their minds, they kind of build up an idea of what each of us is like, and I suspect the commentary will disrupt that a little bit for some people, because frequently they get this quite wrong. Over the years, we've had a lot of very, very intense discussions. We've never fought, we've never had a problem with each other, but it does get quite intense because he loves to play devil's advocate, and I, like I said, I'm very precise. So it kind of it gets a bit crazy. If you've argued with Milton, imagine that times 10. That's what it's like between us. Of course, then you also add to the mix other people from Crow Team, especially with Talos too. Huge discussions of ideas that would sometimes drag on far too long, but all of that adds to the complexity of the ideas that are presented in the game at the end. One final note, it's very difficult to ever win an argument with Tom Joubert. It's very hard to get to that particular part of the dialogue tree, but when you do, man, does it feel good. Oh my God, I'm brilliant. Look at what I did. Look at his facial expression. I beat him at his own game. But, that happens like once every 1,000 years.
No, I don't know if they added more or not. That was in the original game, including the game Elite in Sam's apartment. Worried I had a bouncer there. It's alright though. Very good. This whole world this whole world is a desert. Even the parts that look alive are just more sand. Everything is dead or dying. Anyone who tells you different is lying. Dog. What's more pathetic, this shallow construct of a world, this idiot's playground, or that I continue to solve its contrivances for lack of better sport? Dog. There's more to it. Look at what we're doing. We're solving problems, being tested, improving ourselves. Some of us fall early and get replaced, but you and me, we're still going. We're closer to the end. Sheep. Crisscross Conundrum. Gotta remember to take the time to look around inside the puzzles too, because they stash purple sigils in there as well. Just doors and windows. Accessing communications portal. Network connection established. Decrypting secure message done. It's me again. What happened? We shouldn't talk over these terminals. What happened? Don't know how long we have. Must type quick. In case something happens, the word